Hello and welcome to the Command Phase. My name is Mark and thank you so much for joining me. The second edition of Kill Team was released in August of 2021 and it's fast becoming one of Games Workshop's most popular games. With a pretty easy to learn rule set, fairly cheap entry cost and a wide variety of teams which are all pretty well balanced, it's easy to see why. In this video we're going to be discussing is Kill Team 40K's best starting point, why you should consider giving this game a go, and with the third season Kill Team Salvation just around the corner, it may well be the perfect time to get started. So without any further ado, let's get stuck in. Picking a faction is one of the hardest decisions to make for Warhammer 40k, with there being so many different armies to choose from, but this is where Kill Team comes in. Here you have the opportunity for a minimal cost to try out a factions team to see if you like the modelling and painting side of it. This way you can really see if building up a substantial force to make a 2000 point army with this faction is 100% what you want to do, before dropping a large amount of money to purchase all of those models. I can safely say after painting up a full team of the veteran guardsmen that I won't ever want to make a full Imperial Guard army, but hey, you may well feel differently. If in fact you do decide, yes, I want to take this faction into 40k, then you still have a great game to play while you slowly build up and paint your force, and if not, well, it's not the end of the world, and grabbing a new team won't cost too much, especially compared to say doing this with combat patrols for 40k. There is so much variety in the game and more teams are regularly being added, plus you have the option of some of the bespoke teams which have appeared in the lore but don't have a full 40k faction, and Kill Team is the way for Games Workshop to add these into the game, like the Rogue Traders, Navy Breachers and Gelapox as an example. You typically wouldn't have the opportunity to field an entire faction of these, but these are really great hobby projects. Some of the bespoke teams do have rules now in 40k to be able to take these and seamlessly fit them into a larger army. The Kroot Firestalker Kinband, Adeptus Sororitas Novitiates and the Chaos Space Marine Legionaries are just a few examples of this, with the latter getting their extra equipment added into the Legionaries rules in the most recent Chaos Space Marines Index. Kill Team is one of the cheapest games that Games Workshop makes, which we all know doesn't really make it that cheap in the grand scheme of things for this hobby, but the initial outlay is much cheaper than buying a full 2000 point army, although of course if you wanted to collect every single team, then of course it can get to the same levels. You can start as easily as picking up one team that takes your fancy, which typically sits in the region of the £30 to £42.50 mark directly from Games Workshop, although with most purchases, take a look at your online discount retailers who offer up to 20% off to make the purchase even better value. At this price point it makes the game very accessible, as you can collect as much or as little as you like. In terms of the teams, you'll probably find a roster of around 4 different teams would give you more than enough variety to keep you entertained for a long time. Plus, if you do fancy adding another one, it's just picking up one more box around £35 to get another. If you do have a local gaming store or a group that has some of the terrain, then that's something you don't need to worry about. But if not, each season has different terrain sets to play on, like the new Kill Team Salvation set on this oil rig, or the second season Into the Dark fighting in the corridors of a Space Hulk. These aren't too expensive and you'll get plenty of play out of them if you do need to get hold of some. You may be lucky enough to get hold of some of the older sets like Octarius, which gives you 2 teams and the terrain for a good value price, although these may well be few and far between out in the wild. Definitely something to keep an eye out for. This is probably one of the biggest pluses for this game. Due to it only being one squad of infantry, typically with just the one box of miniatures required, it's not a huge time investment to build and paint them up and get them onto the tabletop compared to a combat patrol. This makes the game far less daunting for newer players to pick up, and if they don't enjoy the team once they've finished it and played a few games, well, it's pretty quick to start another one. Realistically, you could pick up a team after your last game night and have it ready for the next one without too much stress in doing so. The game itself is much faster to play than Warhammer 40k as well. This is great if you only have a limited amount of hobby time or want to fit in a couple games in an evening. Plus, it's a much smaller game, so it's easier to find a space to play not only in your schedule, but also a table to play on. The board is a lot smaller, so it could even fit at home on your coffee table. And then we come to one of the most important aspects of the game, and this is where it shines. Kill Team gives you some really good close quarters gameplay where skill level is the main contributing factor rather than the list you're playing. Of course, there is randomness with dice, but that's just part of any tabletop game, but here you feel that your decisions matter. Not only on where you go, but also which operatives you end up utilising each time in the back and forth alternating turns gameplay. This makes it far more interactive than 40k, where you could end up waiting a long time to make any meaningful decisions. For the most part, the rules are pretty intuitive compared to 40k and pretty straightforward to pick up. Plus, with each season and the wide variety of terrain options, it helps keep the game fresh. Now, you may be wondering which teams are the best, and just like in 40k, Games Workshop have been keeping the teams in check with some regular balance passes. A great example showing how healthy the game is was at the recent Kill Team World Championships, where 15 different teams were represented, with Commandos being the most popular. Since that event, they've had a little tuning in the latest balance update ahead of the new Kill Team Salvation season alongside many other teams. While you may not be approaching this as trying to be an ultra competitive player, this means no matter what team you bring on a game night, you'll have a great time, which can only be a good thing. Kill Team is really well suited for the competitive match play side of the game compared to that of the narrative campaigns, although this has improved since Season 1 and hopefully will continue to be worked on to make this feel more meaningful to players that enjoy that side of the game. But overall, it's in a pretty good state, and I'm sure if you give it a try, you'll have a great time. In all honesty, I think this is a great way to get into the hobby and then into Warhammer 40k later on down the line. Not only will you be able to see if you enjoy the building and modelling side of your chosen faction before dropping a lot of money to build up a 2000 point army, but you'll also have a great game to play in the meantime while you slowly grow your force. That being said, if you end up deciding you want to stick with Kill Team as you enjoy the wide variety of teams, the low cost to try out something new, and the shorter time investment in both the hobbying and gaming side, then that's also a fantastic option. There is no right or wrong here, and to be perfectly honest, Kill Team helped re-spark my enjoyment of the hobby, and I hope it can do the same for many of you. Plus, with Kill Team Salvation just around the corner, it's a great time to get stuck in. If you found this video useful and want to see more Kill Team related content, let me know in the comments section below. Have you ever played Kill Team or looking to start, and is there a certain team you're excited to try out? I'd love to know. If you enjoyed the video, do hit that like and subscribe button, as it really does help a lot. Thank you so much for watching the command phase, and I'll see you in the next video.